All right. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone can hear me here just fine. Happy Tuesday, and yeah, welcome back to what should be hopefully another say interesting trading day, but yesterday was not a particularly interesting trading day. Yesterday was a particularly boring trading day. So let's see what markets have in store for us here today. Hopefully, we can put ourselves into a good situation where we do get some action. We do have a little bit of a overnight move here again, significantly smaller than what we saw there yesterday. So potentially a little bit easier, but very much kind of like low vol grind mindset here this morning, or kind of seems like it's the theme of the week here a little bit, right? Very thin. I was going to say theme volume. It doesn't make sense. Very thin volume here so far today. Very thin volume there yesterday, and it's kind of been like a I don't know, crescendo of decreasing volume. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but it's been very, very slow, right, from a volume perspective here, as that implied volatility has evaporated away from those 20s. So we had a nice little spike, good trading, and then we're kind of back down to sort of those quiet characteristics. So really today's objective, right, is to be a little bit more deliberate, maybe a little bit more like a little bit more reined in, or behaving with a little bit more control, I think, is ultimately the better maybe way of phrasing it. Yesterday we had a really nice win kind of in our back pocket, and at least for myself personally, I didn't close my P&L as it was increasing, right? I closed it on a pretty aggressive pullback, and I gave back, like 75-80% of my P&L. So it's not exactly the best feeling trade in the world. And basically what I would say is I didn't use the context of yesterday's market as well as I probably could have. So today I'm going to make sure to be a little bit more aggressive in how I'm managing my positions. Just make sure I am taking a big win when it's there, and just hitting, my base hits and compounding and getting on base. Besides that, right, we've got earnings that are kicking off a little bit more aggressively here this week. So that should be a little bit of an interesting scenario. And then we've got FOMC here tomorrow, which again creates a little bit of extra volatility. Historically, on an FOMC week, right, you tend to get a pretty good positioning trade, right? The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, a little bit of chaos on Wednesday, and then a little bit of chaos on Thursday and Friday. So we'll see if that ends up being the reality, right? With how thin the volume is, I think we are getting set up for a pretty aggressive move in either direction. My bias would probably be to the downside. But yeah, let's see how things kind of creep up, or how things sort of behave, and then let's take it on a day-by-day basis. Hopefully everyone as well has had an opportunity to at least kind of see the content that is available to you in that trading psychology channel. I've got a few more videos that I still need to post in there, but hopefully it's getting you thinking and going and looking at things from a slightly different perspective, and just embracing kind of that inner game of trading, right? So no matter what I say, or how I trade, or how well I perform, you're not going to be able to be me, right? And I'm not going to ever be able to be you. And so what that means as a trader, right, is that we all make different mistakes. We all have our own psychological pitfalls, or areas where things don't necessarily behave as we don't necessarily behave as well as we should. And that breaking point, or that trigger, is a little bit different for each individual. And the more that we study where our breaking point is, how we can control it, how we can manage it, right, generally the better things go, and we're then able to trade the same strategy. So the strategy that I trade here on a daily basis, right, is honestly the least important thing about me and my trading. It's a very small part of what my edge is, right? My edge is primarily my ability to lose small and my ability to manage losers effectively and to not compound mistakes. And then my edge, right, is my ability to be consistent and to execute my rules on a daily basis. Uh, yeah, so that's really what I'm focusing on here, and I use my psychology, right, to basically allow me to follow those kind of protocols or those rules or those structures, and that's ultimately what I think makes me a reasonably successful trader. All right, so enough ranting and raving here. Let's get after it here. Let's start mapping things out and figure out what we want to do this AM. So same thing like yesterday, right? It's a 2 out of 3 to the upside without volume. We're targeting 69.40 here, right? By the looks of it, 69.30 should get taken care of by the indicator. I'm not too bothered by that. And then again, we're at all-time highs, so I'm just going to fill it out towards, oh my gosh, 7,000, which is kind of crazy to say. So 69.60. And then 7,000. Insane. To the downside here, we're looking 900. So 6,900 would be the starting point. Just taking some of my brain power here. All right, there we go. And yeah, see if we can get this thing to behave. So we do have a two-way tape here. We should have some opportunities, right, to look at things in both directions. But yeah, let's see basically if we can get ourselves a consistent story here today. And if we do get that consistency, let's see if we can take advantage of it. All right, the old NQ, Old Faithful, my favorite thing in the world to trade. And so we're looking at this, right? 2 out of 3 to the upside without. Cool. And again, right, pre-market here, 26.1 would be kind of our target point. We should get that hit by the indicator. So we're going to go 26.2. And then again, right, all-time high. So we're just kind of making up the levels here. Basically just at round numbers. Not particularly something I need to be too worried about. To the downside here, target would be 25.9, then 25.8, and we've got quite a bit of space there. Yeah, it's that's a great boat name, Her Grace NQ. I like that. All right, CL. So yesterday, red candle, decreasing volume, gap down. So again, 2 out of 3 to the downside without. Our starting point here would be a 61.50. And nice, I don't have to change too many of our levels this week. And then to the downside here, our biggest restriction is just going to be those caps. So our cap here, right, is 5%. So that's approximately 58.50. We'll call it, right? That's pretty much right on the dot. So can't really exceed that. It means our starting point here is going to be 60. And then it's basically just exchange limits, right, that are going to slow us down. All right. Apple going into earnings on Thursday. Green candle, increasing volume, gap down. So 2 out of 3 with volume. Tesla, 3 for 3. Old Microsoft, red candle, decreasing volume, or sorry, increasing volume. I'm missing something here. Huge gap up. Whoa. That's a monster. So red candle, increasing volume, the biggest gap up I've seen in Microsoft in a long time. So we'll call this a weak 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. Crazy big gap up. So this would be setting up theoretically as a mean reversion look. That is a monster gap up. Insane. All right. Amazon. A little bit decreasing volume. So red candle, decreasing volume, gap up. So 1 for 3 to the downside going into earnings tomorrow. Thursday again. Thursday's going to be a big day. All right. NVIDIA 3 for 3. Fine. AMD 1 for 3. Meta 3 for 3 going into earnings tomorrow. About a week 3 for 3. Netflix, red candle, decreasing volume, technically a gap up. So again, 1 for 3. Google 269.29, so 2-cent gap up. Earnings on Wednesday, and again, right, a 3 for 3 here to the upside. And then the old Vixaroonie 15.66. Not exactly tremendous momentum there or tremendous volatility. So we need to see general market cooperation here if we're going to have ourselves a little bit of joy. Any questions here about our pre-market prep this morning? Anything that's sticking out or anything that doesn't make sense? Let's fire through those things here now. All right, fantastic. So yeah, we got 2.5 minutes here till market open. So I'm just gonna go make myself a quick cup of coffee here, or fill up my cup of coffee, probably better phrase, and then we'll jump back on here as we go. Todd, the volume indicator on TradingView is literally just the volume MA, right? In the volume settings, all those things are shown inside a few of the Discord channels, but it's just the standard volume indicator or volume moving average on the volume indicator. All right, guys, we'll be back in a minute or two here. All right, so let's mark it open. Let's see what we have in store here today, right? Obviously, yesterday slow session. Today, we'll see if it's any busier, if it's any crazier. To be determined. Yeah, curious to see what markets have available for us here today. And yeah, let's see how it goes. Pretty small range on ES, a little bit better on NQ. Still not bigger than yesterday. That's fine. Had a dream last night. Maybe we'll speak it into existence. But I had a dream that I didn't trade NQ here this morning. So maybe a nightmare more than a dream, but we'll see. We'll see if that ends up playing out a little bit here today. Yeah, me too, Kiki. Me too. A little bit of indecision to start, right? We kind of have different stories everywhere. So that creates maybe a little bit of extra chaos. Good morning, Tony. A little bit less volume than yesterday. That's fine. I mean, no chance we're going to get increasing volume here on that second bar. But we'll see. And then same thing kind of as yesterday. Objective here is a one and done. That was pretty nice. All right. Hey, good morning, Renee. Oh, excuse me. Again, expecting the open to be a little bit slow, similar to yesterday. And we're expecting it to be slow, right? Because all of our leading names, or vast majority of our leading names, all kind of giving us a slightly different narrative, right? Or a slightly different story. And so we're expecting that indecision to hit the indexes hard and to basically stall out price action for a little bit. Yeah, sure, James. So enter a trade. Again, it's just a paper trade just to show something here. So let's say I set my stop loss. We're just going really far away so it doesn't trigger. And I'm now in a position. If I wanted to modify the stop loss, I click this pencil, right? And then I change the stop loss price. So let's say we want it to be 1750. And now my stop loss, right, has been changed to be 1775. Make sense? It's 20 period moving average, Tracy. The thing that might be different is you could be using pre-market data in your calculation, and I am not. But again, all my chart settings and all my features, or even if you want to use my chart, you can find all those things in Discord. Yeah, Chris, you can Google that, right, to find TradingView's specific documentation over that or the execution platform. You can figure that one out yourself. Again, guys, my job here is to teach you guys my trading strategy, not to offer technical support, right? I have no ability to be able to see the logs inside TradingView or your prop firm or what's actually going on there with those orders. So I can't provide anything besides a solution that I would have to Google myself to, which at that point, you're going to get your answer 10 times faster if you just do it yourself. And you'll save a lot of people energy and time, right? So we are looking here for a possible breakdown setup, right? We've got a nice breakout here through the lows on increasing outlier volume. And then we have a quote unquote bit of a pullback scenario here. Did make a little fake out lower low, pull in, but I haven't quite seen the right combo here to be confident that I know where my stop loss is. So we will be watching this. Again, guys, like to learn how to edit your stop loss, there's a million videos of that on YouTube, right? So, you could have gotten that question answered a month ago instead of waiting for me to do it. Again, guys, be proactive, not reactive, right? Let's see if this gives us a little fake out above that 65. That could be our opportunity then, right, to look for a potential breakdown scenario. Okay, there it possibly is. So that would set stop loss to be, I'll call it 67 for now. I reckon we still see a little bit higher here because that wasn't quite the elevator rejection that we're hoping for. Again, still not quite there. Still not quite there. Still not quite there. Okay, much better. So stop loss here, right? If we were to set this up, would be 074. If my trade didn't execute the way that I want, I would close my trade. Right? If I got a partial fill, if I set my stop loss the wrong way, if I got the wrong position sizing, I would do that. The only way your stop loss would reject is if you set it up incorrectly, right? You set it up at a price that is above your price or above your fill price or below whatever or above whatever the current market is, right? Then you can't get an execution, right? So it's not like some conspiracy theory. It is human error that creates those things. And if I experience human error in my execution, I need to get out. Like these platforms here, TradingView or Tradeovate or even Project X, whatever, right? All of these have a fiduciary duty to execute your trade how you say you want it executed. They don't send orders right at the wrong price. They don't submit stop losses at an incorrect level. They just do what you tell it to do. So if you make a mistake, if something doesn't behave how you expect, Don't expect to get bailed out with your direction if you can't even get your execution correct. So still no reference price, right? We're still just watching. $26,077 would be the stop. See, I don't like how it's bouncing there, right? It went tick by tick lower and then aggressive bounce higher. That's kind of telling me that it might not quite be ready for me yet, right? Or that a further fake out could still be coming or whatever it might be. It's all decreasing volume profiles post confirmation. So we've not invalidated this idea here yet. We're just looking for the correct move. Quite the divergence between ES and NQ. So again, I feel pretty good about having a short thesis. But we're trying to make sure that we get the right entry timing here or the right combo there. Now would push stop loss into the 80s. Can't help but think that it would have to be there. 85, we'll call it. Again, guys, still no reference price. So I'm not looking for an entry here yet. Again, good volume, very weak volume. That's very positive. Well, we're looking for the fake out, Paco, right? So we kind of want it to fake out above and see those bulls fail, right? So that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for some sort of fake out thesis or fake out example. So what would kill it, right, is if we get a break and hold above that 84.50. Starting to reject here, pretty nice. Again, we're looking for a short here on NQ, right? 2-minute time frame. Everything you need is on my screen. So if I hear any comments of, I didn't know what you were trading or I didn't know what direction you were going, that's a you problem, not a me problem at this point. Okay, so we're starting to watch here a little bit. I would have my reference price, yeah, to be about 78 or so. Again, I'm a little bit, there's the potential here of there still being a little bit of a fake out. So if it pulls into that blue line, I'm not clicking submit instantly, right? I'm going to give it as much time to breathe as I can and to make a good, reasonable decision. If I miss it, I miss it. I don't care. I'm trying to be precise here, right? And not chase dumb trades. Now we could potentially do something like this. So stop loss would be 77. I would still prefer this though. And then stop or entry around 78. And again, same thing, right? Waiting. Just to sanity check, right? That it isn't gonna fake me out too aggressively. We do have some 10 a.m. data here this morning. That could create a little bit of extra volatility, but let's see. All right, at this point, we might now be looking at this. It's almost like we were one candle too late on this. But this would have been scary. Would have been within 1 point of our stop loss. Potentially your spread would have stopped out you there. So no big deal, right? We haven't missed anything that would have been easy yet. Okay, fine. Still, right? Still fine. Okay, so watching here again for a little rejection. Okay, cool. So we're looking at 59 as a stop loss. Short still, right? Short still. No, I am not muted. Fuck's sake. I am not muted. Okay, not going to chase this here if it pulls back yet. Again, guys, I can't spend 2 minutes talking about how I'm not your tech support, and then I get asked if I can be tech support. That's not fair, guys. Okay, so we're not interested in this right now, right? Too big of a move before the pullback. Now this is setting up as a possible reversal, right? Failed move to the downside and then increasing outlier volume. So we're looking for that reversal setup here to the upside. I don't know what these freaking things are. Really annoying, whatever it is. Again, we might be getting a little fake out opportunity here. We're looking for a move under our previous low of day, right? So that's going to be our first thing that we're checking. Every now and then, this fib tool is so annoying to deal with. Maybe, but I don't have anything active of Zoom on this. Might be just squigglies from trading view somehow. I'll deal with that later. I don't know if it's not the right time to focus on that. So someone, okay, whatever. Okay, so we're watching here, right? Possible stop loss would be at the low of day right now, which is 034.50, so called 034. Reference price would be under 41. So getting everything set up here. 034. So let's see how this candle closes. We got 2 seconds, and then we're going to look for a pullback right into that 40 range. Oh, guys, focus here, right? Focus. Don't distract yourselves with this Zoom bullshit. Just focus. Okay, guys, I am in average price $39.75. $39.75. Stop loss 34. And let's see if this thing can go. I am in long. Guys, again, focus here. Fuck off. Focus, guys. So many people are asking dumb questions while we're looking at trades, guys. Not the right time. What are we doing? Come on, guys. Focus. Okay, I've just been stopped out on this position. Chris, this was my reversal signal, right? This candle, we talked about it prior to setting up. That was my signal. I will try this again, guys, on this fake out potentially. Again, guys, focus, focus, focus. I'm answering too many questions as we're literally looking at trades. It is really unfair. How am I supposed to do my job if you're distracting or pulling me from my ability to do that? Not fair. If you don't know what the strategy is, go do your research in the Discord. Everything I trade, how I trade is described there in a lot of detail. If you miss the explanation, wait until the trade is over and then ask your question. But asking me to bail you out when I'm trying to manage my risk is not fair. We're looking at a 26.029 stop loss. Same thing, right? It's still just been fake outs. Okay, so watching here carefully. All right, guys, I am in 032.25. Stop loss at 29. Very good so far. Very, very good. I have 4 contracts on this. And there it goes, right? That's $1,500. So now the focus, right, becomes on closing as P&L is increasing and not giving up a dumb mistake, right, as we go into market data. Okay, and I'm looking for my exit here now, guys. And I am out. I am out. Holy shit, what a pump. Exit price 26,070.75. Let's go. Huge. This is why we need focus, right? Let's go. Huge, guys. Huge. Congratulations. Let's go. Right? Good process leads to good P&L. Let's go. Woo! Huge win, guys. Huge win. Again, right? I'm not trying to bitch people out here, right? I'm trying to make sure that everyone is focused so that we can catch our moves and everyone get paid, right? That's the goal. Right? So we control the quality of our process and we control the variables we can't control so everyone can make money. So I know I'm a grumpy prick in here, but it requires a level of focus and just paying attention to get what we need out of the market, right? That was awesome. That was really, really awesome. Yeah, you got positive slippage there, Jared, right? That is a really good thing. All right, so that's what happens when you close as your P&L is increasing, right? You get the benefits of positive slippage. When you panic close your trades, that's when you get completely smacked around, right? And you get the negative consequences of your slippage. Let's go, guys. That was pretty much perfect. That was pretty much perfect. All right, I'm gonna go do a quick whatchamacallit, grab a quick cup of coffee here, just reset. We've got data dropping in 2 minutes, so I'm not gonna place another trade going into that data. So now we're gonna wait, right? Now we're gonna wait. So I'll be back in 2 minutes here, guys. I would use that same opportunity, right? Just do a little reset procedure. Get your head right. Don't think about this P&L and make a decision that is best for you, right? So that means you're getting out, right? And you're finishing the day and you're locking in up 2K. Yes, right? That would be awesome. Please go do that. If you're just like resetting and you're resetting your dopamine, yes, go do that. Find that little thing, right, to get you back to baseline. And we'll see if we can get something else here this morning. But perfect start to the trading day. So CBH, I don't consider closing partials. My I did a study at this last Christmas. Because last Christmas or like last year I was doing it a bit more. And I realized that if I had just closed my entire position where I consistently closed my first contract, I actually would have made a lot more money. So that's why I don't do it. It's just based on my own personal experience or my own personal technique. Your own data will have the answer to that. But for myself personally, I don't consider it. Look, all like I didn't necessarily like I got super lucky with my exit, right, Roberto? So it's not like I planned, okay, I hit 80 and it goes. It's just I have a internal rule for myself that if a move ever happens faster than I expect, I get out and I take my money and run, right? So it's like literally all that happened here. So I saw it starting to move really fast through, we'll call it 65, 70. And then the second I click submit, I'm just getting lucky effectively within it just giving me an even better fill price because the move is in maniac mode. So it's not necessarily that I was, oh my gosh, I got 80, let me close. I just, the second I see it moving faster than I want, I click X and I hope for the best possible outcome. So Atomic, right? I would go through the How DTR Trades channel, how to trade with DTR channel, and it will answer 99% of your questions. Yeah, I got out at 72. My exit price was 26.070.50. So I just want to mention this, guys, here, right before, or if we get another trade, I have no problem with people asking questions, right? I got absolutely no issues with that. That is a completely reasonable and yeah, totally responsible thing to do for you as a trader. But when I'm looking for an entry, guys, that is a very high pressure moment, right? I'm trying to make a decision, trying to be very precise. I am trying to call out my thought process, trying to manage a lot of different things and to make sure that everyone here has the information that they need. Any distraction, right, at that point can be an extremely expensive question for everyone but yourself. So in scenarios, right, where I'm looking for an entry and then you're asking me what direction we're going, that question costs everybody else a ton of money. So that's why it's frustrating, right? That's why it's annoying because it's a very selfish pursuit that ultimately hurts the 350 other traders that aren't you. And I would ask that we don't approach that, right? In those situations. So I have no problems with you guys answering or asking questions. But when I'm trying to talk through my entry logic, when I'm trying to tell you guys where I'm entering my trade, what my entry timing is, those questions become very, very expensive for everyone. And yeah, they're just not fair. So please, guys, help me manage some of that pressure a little bit easier and ask questions, right? Get everything you need answered. But when it's time to look for a trade and I'm asking for focus, please be respectful of that because it's not, it really isn't fair to everyone else. And it's not fair to me either. Is that understood? Love that, Hank. Congratulations. Yeah, unfortunately, Austin, the way that I run this program is that I don't have a filter, right? That is what makes DTR very unique, what creates this to be a very good learning environment, right? There's nothing that is off kilter or off tilt or anything that is out of bounds here. That's the only way we're going to learn. And the only way that I can truly give you guys that transparent process when I'm trading is if I don't filter out things. So there's pros and cons to that, right? The pros of that are that we all get to learn at a faster pace. We all get to see the highs and lows, right? And how to manage those things. And that is a very important thing to learn as a trader. the con of that, right, is that I don't ever filter anything out. So, you have to take the good with the bad in that situation. And it for sure is something that I do get quote unquote baited with, right? That for sure is fair. But for me, the pros outweigh the cons in that situation. And it's something that I'm willing to live with. Otherwise, I have to start picking and choosing kind of how I respond to things and or the things that I share or whatever it might be. And then you guys don't get all the information. So there is no better way besides enforcing rules to make sure that standards are clear. So it's not decision fatigue from having a filter, right? But I've seen the move fail to the upside and get back into the middle of my consolidation range. So I have no reason to enter a trade. Hey, be proactive here, Kiki. Go enjoy the rest of your holiday. And again, guys, like I'm not gonna ever say anything here that attacks you, the person. I will attack you, the trader, right? For sure. But I'm never gonna say that you're like a piece of shit or that, oh my gosh, because of something that you shared in your one-on-one calls, that's why you're a failure. Like that's not the reality here, right? But making money requires a certain amount of intensity, and there's no room for feelings here, right? We're systematic in our trading, we're systematic in our approach so that we can ignore the insecurities that the market makes us feel. That's it, right? That's why we have a set of rules so that we can override our emotional triggers. That's why systems exist. And like all things considered, where we close that trade, price is pretty much not recovered above that. I mean, maybe so yeah, I for sure can be grumpy sometimes. But I would say, right, is Hayes, I would probably hopefully not classify myself as grumpy. I would classify myself as no nonsense when I'm trading, right? Like that for me is what it is. Like there are times to have fun and there are times to be super focused and intense. And trading for me is that moment of where I have to be intense. That's amazing, right? What are you talking about? That's a really positive thing. John, that's amazing. That's really why we focus, right? So, Chris, right? When you look at my trade, red line is stop loss, blue line is entry target, green line is entry zone. So if my stop loss is at the bottom of a candle, I'm going long. If my red line is at the top of a candle, I am going short. So you have that visual cue already. But also when I was setting up this trade, I did mention very clearly that we are looking for a long, that we are focusing for an upside trade, and we broke down why this 2-min candle was our setup trigger. So all the information was there. So I would disagree with your assessment that it wasn't clear that I was looking for a long. All that information was given to you 2 minutes before we entered a trade. Oh yeah, Hayes, I'm not calling you out for that is all. But it's like, I talk a lot about choosing the language that you use to describe your problems. If you call yourself grumpy and you tell yourself you're that, you're kind of going to speak it into existence. If you tell yourself that you have a zone of extreme focus, then you feel a lot better, right, about yourself in basically demanding that focus from yourself. So that's what it is. Yeah, the self-talk we use to tell ourselves what's going on, it's a choice. And the language we use to describe our problems become the frameworks or the goalposts from which we solve them. So we got to be deliberate there, right? The more deliberate we are in what language we're choosing to use, the better things go. Hey, Rusty, how's it going? Right? What that means, guys, is that someone had a market order with small sizing hanging out at that 102, right? Or whatever it is. And so market was trying to absorb all that new buying and selling. And so it got a crazy fill. Right? Your broker can potentially get a different fill than the price that you see on the chart because TradingView is showing you the CME data feed, right? It's not necessarily showing you the broker's specific executions. So that's why that can exist. And literally why we focus on closing as P&L is increasing, right? Because then you get that positive slippage. Now, that's a very extreme example. And maybe there'll be some adjustments that are made later. But the chart that you see here, right, is more than just what your broker is filling. Yeah, so I trade minis, Chris. And so my risk on that trade was like 5 points, a little bit less than 5 points. So I kept the risk small because I bought a disproportionately small pullback, right? Or I waited until the pullback was so tight that I was either going to be green right away or stopped out right away. So that's a personal philosophical choice on basically buying those types of pullbacks. Right? So you can create asymmetric upside there with your execution process, and that's what I did. My base expectation with any trade that I take is that my max loss doesn't exceed $500 per account. Well, if you want to copy trade, Chris, you got to look at third-party copiers. Again, not my job here. My job is to teach you my strategy, show you my trades, right? Teach you how to manage your risk, teach you how to manage your psychology. How you choose to execute that is up to you. And I have, again, no oversight on what goes on in individual prop firms or which trade copier is best or what your what broker you should use. I can't help with any of those things. Again, guys, my job here is to teach you how to trade, not to be your tech support, right? Yeah, John, it makes it easy for us to lose small as well. I think the longer you're in a losing trade And the longer it takes for you to get stopped out, the more emotional suffering you effectively get from that, right? It feels worse. So if I get stopped out and I get stopped out in 15 seconds, probably not going to feel that bad. I haven't had enough time yet to like get emotionally attached to my idea. So I think it makes it a little bit easier to be a rational human being. Yeah, it worked out pretty well. And we just tried the same thesis twice, right? So worked out really well. That's the thing. Like if you lose small and you don't develop that emotional attachment, it's really easy to reset, get impartial, and try again. Guys, whoever keeps drawing on Zoom on my screen, we need to stop, guys. This is insane. More and more lines keep popping up. Whoever is doing it on Zoom, guys, we need to stop. Please, 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 please. It is driving me insane. Risk management is the only way you win long term, right? It is the only way. So, guys, there's 44 people here in Zoom. One of you is drawing on my screen. Please stop. Yeah, I don't know how it works either, Kobe. I don't know why someone's doing it. Sounds good, Mike. Go enjoy the rest of your day. And realistically, I don't see myself placing any further trades either. Yeah, good day here. Good day. Oh, it feels so good to be one and or two and done today. I don't think I see myself I like that, Renee. It's almost that time. I mean, for me, it's like once you start getting right around American Thanksgiving, that for me is like the start of the Christmas season. You know what, guys? We absolutely nailed it today. Market is not really moved since that insane asylum candle. I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything else. Pretty happy to just chill. How's everyone feeling? Everyone green? Love that, guys. Love that. Nice work, Mike. Let's go, Marco. Well done, Kellen. Love that, Renee. Congratulations. So, Chris, why'd you miss the entry, right? Like, you got all this evidence that when you tried to outsmart the market, you just end up feeling like an idiot. Love it, Michael. Congratulations. Let's go, Rusty. What a month. Michael's in Australia. He's burning the midnight oil. That was fun. That was a fun day. Nice work, John. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Love to see the greens across the board, guys. That's really fun. Not going to address the latency comments, Tracy, because those are factually incorrect. That is not what the latency is on YouTube. There is zero latency on Zoom. There is zero latency on Discord. Everyone has an alternative option to not make that an excuse. It drives me fucking insane. I'm hosting 3 different streams that everyone could watch. So don't blame me. That is not fair. I'm doing everything I can to save that excuse for you. So stop. I cannot believe I have to address this every single day. It is ridiculous. Like, my advice here, people, right, is don't blame latency as the boogeyman when it is the quality of your own personal decisions that are costing you money. Latency is only an issue if your objective is to say, wait for me to say that I'm in a trade, and then you set up your order window and click submit. That is the only time that the latency is an issue. And it's a latency issue then because you're an idiot who is not setting up your order window correctly and you are chasing my trades. You are no longer copying what I am doing. If you are watching how I set up my screen and you have watched the videos inside the Discord and you have gone through all of those various materials, then you will know where I'm looking to enter my trade before I enter it. And then you just watch that on your own screen and you click submit and you stop waiting for someone to tell you that they are in and then chasing that trade. If you spend all your time chasing trades, the only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to lose more money when we're incorrect and you're going to make less money when we are correct. And that is a lose-lose situation for you. So stop with this latency excuse, take some accountability over your decisions, and use the information that you were given because you will make 10 times more money than just doing the lazy thing and waiting to hear that, oh, I'm in, right? Or whatever it is. So set yourself up for success and actually use the resources that are provided to you because you will make 10 times more. So I cannot stand that as an excuse because it tells me who you are as a trader and it tells me that you are unserious about making money. But you don't want to be accountable to yourself. You want someone else to wipe your ass and make you rich. Doesn't work like that. So it drives me freaking insane. But we got to stop with this, guys. It is not difficult. But we need to stop. Yeah, chasing a trade where you're chasing a feeling or validation from a feeling is the quickest and easiest way to get addicted to losing, right? Because once you get a good result, good P&L result, when you're making decisions thinking that about P&L, the next time you get that feeling, you're going to make the same decision. It won't happen the way that you expect, and you'll lose a disproportionate amount of money. What an insane candle, honestly. That was mental. Yeah, I would say 95% of the time, Earl, it does. 95% of the time, it does. Like on this trade, on that big win we got, it for sure did. So you can always get, well, not always, but 99% of the time, it'll retest my entry price, right? Now, there are times where I'll be perfect and it'll just rocket ship right away. And that happens. But those are rare. Like my entries are rarely to the tick perfect. And no one's are, right? So that's it, guys. And once it's under my reference price, all I'm thinking about is how can I get away with the biggest possible discount, right? That's it. Yeah, so that one wouldn't be. We'd like to see it basically break out of its chop zone here today. So this 1030 actually got really close. Looked like it wanted to for a second. but basically we need to invalidate this quote unquote indecision that we've seen from 9:36 to now, right? So we need to invalidate the indecision we've seen for the last hour. And the only way for us to do that is to break out of that compression zone. Yeah, and it's a way of gamifying losing, right? Or also, if I set up a trade and I expect that I'm going to lose $500 on it, but then when I click submit and I buy myself a discount, and I save myself $140, that's awesome, right? That's a way that I can feel better about taking my loss. Yeah, what's your question, Kellen? We have an increasing outlier volume, break and hold through low of day. We have a possible setup here to the downside. Right, so just to finish up that point, if I feel, or if I can find a positive, right, on a loss, I'm not going to wear that baggage for as long as I could, right? It's not going to feel as terrible. And it's actually a subtle way, right, of saying how much control I have over my decisions. So if I'm setting up to take a $500 loss, but I actually take a $360 loss, that's a good outcome, right? That makes it easier for future Michael to be profitable. And that's where I want to be, right? That's my sweet spot. So Kellen, what's your question? Again, I'm being super patient with this. I'm like literally sitting on my hands. What do you mean by invalidation? Right? Invalidation to the upside or invalidation to the downside? I'm confused by your statement. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily phrase it that way, right? It's just that when you see a choppy market or a market that isn't giving you a ton of range, you just want to get out of that barbed wire, even, right? Or whatever you want to call it. So it's just, instead of looking for a breakout from the box, you make that box to effectively be this, right? So now instead of it being 44 points, it's just that. And you're looking for a breakout of the green area, right? So we're just visualizing that as expanding. And yeah, I think the barbed wire is actually a good analogy. I'm not sure if I've used that one before, but basically taking trades inside areas of quote unquote consolidation, you just get cut up and bleed out, right? You get stuck. And that's the worst feeling to have as a trader, where it's neither moving in your direction or invalidating you. And it just creates a tremendous amount of that hopium, right? That's when you start to make bad decisions. And we want to avoid those bad decisions, right? Once we start to trigger those emotional reactions, like what happens next or what we say next or what we do next is not based on logic. It's more irrational. And irrational patterns are, well, they're irrational, right? An irrational pattern is kind of an oxymoron. So it's really hard for us to then be able to control those behaviors. So much of our trading psychology is about being proactive, not reactive. How can I make it easy for myself to have a clear head? And the easiest way for me to have a clear head as a trader is to take clear trades, right? So clear of zones of compression, clear away from consolidation, right? Clear volume profiles, clear candle shapes. All those things compound and smooth out the voice in my head who is addicted to self-sabotaging. So all I'm trying to do is to make my life in the future easier. That's it. And yeah, good thing we didn't take that trade. Would have been a loss. I mean, maybe this is the fake out we've been looking for or would have been looking for. But P&L's too good to worth taking another shot when things are pretty choppy. Sounds good, Earl. Enjoy the rest of your day. And the other element here, to a certain extent, right, is that trade that we took was a very high dopamine trade, right? Moved super fast. P&L was super aggressive. So realistically, right, our dopamine receptors or our ability to be rational kind of gets fried by that a little bit. So it's better to be proactive, turn that into a big day, and go enjoy your life. Again, doesn't mean that other setups can't happen, but I think there's no worse feeling or like the risk reward gets skewed once you're up big or you have a green day. It feels worse to go from being up $500 to zero than it feels good to go from 500 to 1,000, right? Even though, quote unquote, you have zero risk. It tends to feel worse. What do you mean by those kinds of trades, Renee? Like just the speed at which it moved, or like that reversal setup specifically? Yeah, so the speed sometimes, right? Like I think um maybe 1 out of 5 trades, maybe a bit less than that. Maybe like 1 out of 7, 1 out of 8 trades will give you that type of speed on the follow through. To get some 40 odd points, that should be pretty common for us to be able to get that type of follow through. The speed at which it happened, though, for sure, a little bit of an outlier, but not like a 1 in 100 outlier, more like a 1 in 10. Especially now when we're in a market that reacts to like a low volume, low volatility environment that gets or surprising headlines, has those tremendously fast moves. Those happen more often. When you have a high volatility market like we had 2 weeks ago, everything just moves fast, so it becomes kind of relevant. Look, Renee, I have lots to learn here too, right? Like once you decide that you're a trader, you've committed. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's manipulation or it's that true sellers are in control now. But generally, when a move happens faster than I expect, it's a indication of capitulation more so than continuation. So I don't believe in any manipulation type theories because I mean, when I was in a position to quote unquote do those things, um, they were extremely prohibited, right? So, like when I worked institutionally, it was not. Yeah, it was something that we would get bitched out about a ton if we were like spoofing orders or trying to manipulate the order book or whatever. Those things don't really exist. But yeah, for me, it's a sign of capitulation, which doesn't necessarily mean that sellers are in control or that the other side is in control. It just means that bulls aren't as strong as I thought. So again, another good opportunity. That would have been a nice opportunity for a fake out play. Maybe we should have traded it, but I'm happy to be going. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, team. Any other questions here? I don't see myself placing any further trades. Enjoy your afternoon, team. Well done here today. Yeah, every now and then. I mean, NQ treats us well most days. Hey, nice work, Hunter. Good day for you, Marco. Look, if you got 2.25R, that's a great win. I would not beat yourself up about that, right? If you're consistently getting that, that means that you need a win rate of like 27% to be profitable. So that's an incredible result. Oh man, I feel the same way, Market Miner. One of my favorite trails that I ride around here, I rode it on Sunday, and parts of it had snow. FAQ section, Marco. Yeah, so Roberto, like I think for most people, right, the number that will break them from a tilt perspective on a daily basis is if they lose that 1% of their account, right? So if you have a 150K account and you lose 1,500 bucks, you're starting to flirt with disaster, right? Or you're setting yourself up to create a lot more emotional events. And so that should be a starting point for basically managing our psychology, right? That for me is primarily the reason. So it's not that I want risk to be more than 1%. I don't care about that, or like my total exposure. It's just that if I have a red day and I'm down 1,500 bucks, I'm probably putting myself in situations where my psychology is going to be tested more than it should be. And I'm likely to make more mistakes that are higher probability of compounding into $2,000 down or $2,500 down than immediately being up whatever X amount, right? So I think it's just a psychological limit that breaks most people. And it's about making proactive decisions to make sure that we're not creating those unnecessary emotional tests. So basically the theory here is, right, if I go 0 for 3 to start the day and each loss is $500, I take a max loss on all 3 trades. You know what? I'm probably not seeing it like I should here today. So why compound mistakes effectively? I mean, bulls, quote unquote, giving up so easily. But if we look at the daily candle, they haven't, right? They're still in control. They're still above yesterday's high. We're still maintaining, quote unquote, momentum. So I wouldn't classify this as bulls giving up control. I would classify this more as no one being able to win it so far today. Oh. All right, guys, final call for questions here. Final call. Sounds good, Tony. Enjoy the rest of your day. Sounds good, Kellen. Enjoy. You too, Joe. Enjoy the rest of your day. You too, Kath. Love to see everyone having good days here, guys. Really fun. Like, I know I've been hard on you guys here the last 2 or 3 weeks, but the quality of execution I am seeing from people, how that has improved, has honestly been tremendous. You guys should all give yourself a pat on the back for those improvements. It's awesome to see. It truly is. All right, guys. So same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours. I'll do my best to do or to get back to you as soon as I can. I have a relatively busy day here again, just with some projects I'm working on. So bear with me. My window for when I'm checking messages is a little bit delayed, but I will do my best to respond to you guys as soon as I can. Otherwise, looking forward to catching up with a few of you in our one-on-one calls here later this afternoon, and we'll chat then. So have yourselves a great day, team, and we'll talk soon.